Ruler School is brought to you by Happy Little Hug Factory and these amazing patrons. Extra special thank you to guest lecturer patrons Brody Harris and Lance Albertson. Thank you for your support. Enjoy the video. Hey there everybody, DMO73 here, bringing you another feature match for the week. Before we get started, go ahead and go down below and hit that bell and subscribe button to get weekly feature matches, deck profiles, and all kinds of fun stuff. The bell is really important because it sends you an email whenever a new video goes live, so you make sure not to miss a video. With that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump right in. This is New Frontiers. However, both of us are using primarily more Rhea cluster cards, more outside of like dual stone kind of stuff. I am playing a New Age take on Welser, so primarily Welser making use of the new God Art Resonator Welser as well as Prismatic Flame, and Paul Clute is playing a white Panda Rush. He is using dual stones in this, but he told me that he just didn't have time to find his basic whites. So that's why you're going to see it is pure basic white. So it is kind of an idea of where pandas might be going post-rotation in terms of their early game plays. Welser's still super fun. He does, if you talked about the feature match, or if you talked on the Teacher's Lounge, he does lose some things post-rotation that kind of make it a little awkward, primarily in terms of not being able to back up the crests for Prismatic Flame using the stones. But there is still some interesting things to kind of come out of it, so I hope you enjoy. I am going to be on the draw, and so we'll have to see how this goes. Pandas did get some advantage in the fact that they have these new one-drop barrier pandas that set up this really early game board and help them to generate these gems very quickly. I will also preface that you are going to see, unfortunately, the camera angle slide down slightly over the course of the match. I apologize for that. There was an error with my tripod, but you can still see everything that happens. So first turn, plays that panda that has the barrier, which is great because it really stops my crests from being able to target stuff and stops my Majins from being able to target stuff, so my early game Majins can't do as much. Hitting a Blasting Waves on my side. Choosing to play a, I think I play a Spawn of Beelzebub here. I've been using this as an interesting trick to play with something like Majin Subjugation, where you sacrifice it to go put some neg counters on something. Unfortunately, it has barriers, so I can't do it. But then I get to go grab a quick 3-drop Wicked Spirit, which is really helpful, being able to grab Darkness Majin and put out this 8/8 early game. Calling for a second stone. Again, imagine that it's essentially a basic white. This is where Paul's explaining to me that he just forgot to grab basics. He didn't have time to grab his basic white stones for the day. We are going to try to focus on the channel and kind of shifting more towards what decks might look like post-rotation in terms of stone counts. There will be as much as possible, especially in terms of the main deck. Our stone bases might be a little bit wonky, but just a heads up. There's the other panda that gets to generate 1 gem per turn, and also has barrier. So again, kind of this engine is kind of started. Getting a heat ray on my side of things. Playing Magic Crest of Darkness to grab the Spawn of Beelzebub back, and I'll go ahead and just play it just so I have kind of a blocker and swing in for 8. He says, sure, that's fine, I'll take it. 32, just like that, which is excellent for me. See, I do have a Welser and a Prismatic Flame, I think, in my hand, so I'm kind of setting up to see how quickly I can get to a good set. Especially, I also think I have a Restoration in hand, which can do a lot of work as well. One of the cards that with Welser can do quite a bit to help you search out consistently. Playing the other one-drop panda that gets first strike, getting a white gem, so already starting to kind of establish, not necessarily quite as much of an aggressive start as maybe he was hoping, but I also did play a very large creature on turn 1, and he has to kind of be careful about that. He does have 4 pandas, so now we get Rose Quartz coming in, so we just get to put in some damage this way and then recover them at the end of every turn, which is helpful. Pandas kind of have to rely a little bit more on Rose Quartz moving forward, but she is a very powerful kind of out of nowhere card, especially as we move into post rotation. I believe swinging at the Darkness Majin here to try to get it off board. Block with the Spawn of Beelzebub. The counters have to go on somewhere, so I'm going to go ahead and put it on the Rose Quartz just to make her a little bit smaller at the end of the turn. Dealing with the 10-10 is a little bit unfortunate, so I'd rather make it an 8-8. See, he does have that Resuscitating Will, so ultimately he could choose to recover it right now and then kill in, but the problem is it would have the damage from the Spawn of Beelzebub, so it would die. So he's just going to swing in with that Panda. Got that +4 100 attacks, takes you down to 35, and then gets to recover them all thanks to Rose Quartz. Going to my turn, Calling Stone, hitting another Blasting Waves. So at this point I have access to red, green, white, black for a Prismatic. This is pretty important because those are some of the biggest colors that the deck the card kind of needs. Water is great for being able to draw cards, but Prismatic just by itself is a very strong card without having to worry about being draw power as well. Especially, weirdly enough, you get a lot of advantage if your opponent does decide to go wide because of the other awakening effects and then the fact that you're doubling all the damage. So seeing that we have all these barrier creatures, I'm kind of noticing that I have Prismatic and I have Welser in hand. I'm kind of like, I don't really know if I want to really get too aggressive. I might as well kind of play a little bit more defensive, keep myself alive, and then see how wide the board kind of gets so that I can maybe kind of wipe it or answer it with a really heavy-duty Prismatic, especially if I can get a Welser Goddarded successfully. Paul looking at his hand, deciding whether or not he wants to try to go for a flip or potentially establishing a bigger board state. Decides first, let's go ahead and see what we can do in terms of damage. Swings in for 4. Sure, that's fine. I'll take it. Go down to 35. Or go down to 31. Seeing in my hand, you know, I'm kind of just... I know that Pandas can kind of kill me out of nowhere, so I'm trying to save that... I'm kind of willing to take the chip damage a little bit to kind of see if it's possible to use my Majin as a blocker for the biggest piece, specifically Rose Quartz. If he does decide to swing it in, or if he tries to pump very large, I have a way to be able to say, nope, we're going to stop that right now. Plays the Gem Mallet Panda, gets a black gem, I believe, and then passes the turn and it recovers. Just decide to call for stone, gets a white stone, then passes. In the draw phase of my turn, I'm going to go ahead and play the Goddard of the Welser. Then recover, call stone, hitting another Blasting Waves. Attempt to swing in for 8. Goes to miscalc, and I say, well, now that he's going to die and I've got a card out of his hand, let's just go for it, I guess. He has less will. Maybe the chase is active. Paying red, green, white, black to cast Prismatic Flame, targeting the Rose Quartz, and then the copy is going to target, if it resolves, is going to target the Gem Mallet Panda. So this Prismatic Flame is going to be doing double damage. Each one is going to be dealing double damage, 200 damage to everything he controls other than the target, 300 damage plus 100 damage for each thing he controls other than the target to him, and then I gain life equal to how much damage it does. But remember, it's dealing double damage. So the 200 damage to everything is the double damage, but the 300 plus 100 for everything he controls then gets doubled as damage to him. So in this way, the first one, in talking about the math, the Prismatic Flame is targeting Gem Mallet Panda, so it's going to deal 6 to Gem Mallet Panda because it's dealing 3, which is doubled, 2 to each of the other guys, so that's 8, so a total of 1400 life gain, and then 3 for Gem Mallet and 4 others is 700 times 2 is 1400 to Paul. So this is ultimately going to gain me 2800 life and deal 1400 damage to Paul, 200 damage to his board, and 600 damage to Gem Mallet Panda. And that's just the first one, and then Welser clones it. and I get to do a little bit more. So we're doing the math here. So after this first one resolves, he's going to take 14, go down to 18. I will gain 28 and go up to 59. This is one of the things that I'm talking about, in a sense that Prismatic can come out of nowhere, especially in using the crests, and if having the other stones to back it up, to deal a lot of damage and do a lot of effectiveness, all for technically one will, though you have to pay in the Awakening. Ultimately, you want to be using the crests over having to use your will, so that you can kind of like double dip, but still having the stones to be able to back it up makes it a very, very powerful card. So moving into the second one, the Gem Mallet Panda is going to be killed. The second one is now targeting the Rose Quartz, who has 200 damage on her already. So she's going to take 600 damage and die, which gets me 600 life. Then each of the other guys on the board is going to take 200 damage, so I'm going to gain another 600, gaining me 12. And then he's going to gain 3, 4, 5, 6, which is doubled to 12. So I'm going to gain 24 life because he's taking 12. And he's going to take 12 damage. Everything on his board is going to take 2 damage. Rose Quartz is going to take 6. So he's going to go down to 600, and I go up to 8,300 life. Rose Quartz will die, but he'll still be left with those 2 guys on board, which is okay. But the advantage in life is so huge that I'm feeling much better about it. I guess I did deal enough to kill the other one as well. Then the Prismatic Flame's gone, so I've tapped out. Welser can't do anything. Welser has done his job at this point in being the Goddard, and so I just have to pass the turn to Paul at that point. So even playing against a Panda Rush deck, when your opponent goes from being at 3,100 life to 8,300 life and board wipes you, unfortunately, it's probably pretty much game at this point. There's really not much he's going to be able to do to kind of re-aggressivize him back, especially since his life is so low. He will be able to play this altar and then flip and turn it into another free stone. So he has Gem Mallet Panda, or he has Tigris to be able to potentially clear off anything that gets in his way to be able to swing, but his hurdle for trying to kill me as a rush deck, as a more aggressive deck, is suddenly way, way higher because of the fact that both of those Prismatics are going to gain life. And there's no reason for him to burn the darkness counters on Welser, because it's just going to die at the end of the turn anyway. It gets exiled by its own effect. So it goes to my turn. You see I grab a Kaguya's Moonbeam Butterfly there, which is frankly very nuts in this situation, and it's one of the things that I'm going to miss the most about Welser, I think, is you can Goddard in Welser and then do Kaguya's Moonbeam and grab 2 crests straight to the field. You see I have a Fire Crest here, and this is one of the reasons why drawing that Kaguya's Moonbeam Butterfly is a little nuts. So play the red crest, nothing actually there to burn, calling a stone. Paul and I are friends, so I've completely just tapped wrong. I should have tapped the green-red for the Fire Crest and then white-red to go ahead and play Kaguya's Moonbeam for a 0-drop to go grab a 1-drop from my deck, which is Fire Majin. So Fire Majin, when Fire Crest is on the field, actually gets to just burn your opponent for 6. As we transition to this next game, please remember to go ahead and check out the Patreon down below. It is a major way to help support the channel, as well as the Ruler School merch shop at Spreadshirt. That's down below as well. And then be sure again to click on that bell to be emailed when all of our videos go live. With that out of the way, let's go ahead and transition into Game 2 to see if Paul can bring it back after that kind of onslaught of burn. Paul choosing again to put me on the draw, which may or may not be the best idea considering that some of my cards are a little bit higher costed and he's not using cancels like Severing Winds. So giving me the extra will as well as an extra draw card when my stuff is naturally kind of higher costed or combo oriented might not be the best call. But at the same time, he wants to put aggression on me fast, so we'll see if that happens. Getting a stone treasure ore from the Stone Mountain gets him a free light gem. Plays a Panda that has first strike, gets another light gem, and then passes. On my turn, choosing to go ahead and say Burn the Energize to play a Magic Crest of Fire to burn that guy out of the way. Doesn't have barriers, so I can actually do something with that. You've seen Welser versus Pandas a little bit in the past, and you know that 600 defense is a little bit of a problem for Pandas. Playing double altar on his turn. Going Going to my turn, hitting another Blasting Waves. So having the non-barrier for that Crest of Fire is really great for being able to burn my Energize. It also sets up these Fire Majin plays really well. So I'm going to go ahead and play Fire Majin, burn him for 6, then play Light Crest, and put 4 counters on it. So now he's an 800 attacker. Paul Calling Stone getting a Light Gem. So he has that Orphica in hand, but not really much else to make use of that will that he has at this point. Playing 2 for an Orphica flickers my Fire Majin out of the way to pull the counters off of it. Comes back in, gets its enter effect. I'll take it to burn him for 600 damage. At this point, really just needing to see a Darkness Crest, and I'm already set up to make Prismatic Flame very, very effective, and you can see I already have one of those in my hand. Swinging in for 4 with the Fire Majin. My thought is if he blocks with Orphica, sure, he gets to go get a Panda, but then I can play Darkness Majin, Darkness Crest, bring it back, replay it, burn him for 6 damage anyway. Uses the Miscalc, play the Darkness Crest, bring the Fire Majin back, and then recast the same Fire Majin to burn him for another 6 damage, take him down to 22. So just like that, even though I'm not able to get those swings in, I'm still able to kind of bypass it because of the power of the crests. And then I'm going to go ahead and play a Spawn of Beelzebub and say pass the turn. Choosing to do Judgment. Gets, I believe, Light Crests at this point. He doesn't, mainly because he doesn't actually have a lot, like the Darkness Crests, sure, but he probably plans on having stuff to get my stuff out of the way or use Resuscitating Wheel to be able to just kind of make it so I swing a bunch of times. And the Darkness, he needs more light gems to do that, and he hasn't been able to play a ton of pandas early on to generate those light gems, so he has to kind of be reliant on getting those other gems. He does get 2 free stones, which thankfully enough hits him another stone from the Treasure Mountain, so he gets a free light gem off of that. At that point in time, he passes the turn to me. Draw for turn. Call a stone. I do have a Prismatic Flame in my hand, so I'm already kind of setting up to see how quickly I can maybe get to lethal. Swinging in for 3 with the Spawn of Beelzebub. He says that's fine, I'll take it. Takes him down to 19. Every little bit of damage helps to make the Prismatic Flame a little bit more effective. Swings to takes me down to 15. So very, very close at this point. Play Majin Subjugation, sacrificing the Spawn of Beelzebub, which will put 2 -1/- counters on the Orphica going into the deck. Now I could go grab something really, really big like a Darkness Majin, but at this point in time I might as well just grab a Fire Majin and burn him for another 6 because I have a Fire Crest taking him down below 1,000. Especially since I already have, like I said, that Prismatic Flame in my hand. So I have the Prismatic Flame in my hand, and I'm thinking about whether or not to cast it this turn. I choose to pass the turn. I choose to let him recover, which is weirdly, I shouldn't be thinking that, oh, there might be a Zevering Winds play, or oh, what would he do? But I actually just have a way to straight up deal lethal right now, even before he recovers, because of that Prismatic, and it's completely safe. Oh, there is one way to get around it, and I'll kind of talk about that here in a second. As I start to get the Prismatic play to resolve, I'll talk about it. Swings in with Tigris. I see that's fine. I'm going to take the damage. I'll take 15. It's all good. Tries to Resuscitating Wheel it, and I'm like, okay, so cool. So you're going for lethal right now this turn. Let's go ahead and make a play. So in response, I go red, green, red, black, white for Prismatic Flame again. And my initial target is actually the Fire Majin, and I'll explain why this is. So Fire Majin, it's 100% because I'm trying to kill him this turn. So the way that the Darkness Awakening goes is it goes 300 damage to your opponent plus 100 for each J/Resonator your opponent controls other than this card's target. So I target my own thing because he has 2 things. So it's 300 plus 100 plus 100, that's 500, and then that gets doubled, so it's 1,000 damage to Paul, which kills him. If I had targeted his Orphica, they would only deal 800 damage to Paul and not be lethal. And I would still, probably gain enough life to survive the swings from the resuscitating wheel and stuff, but at this point in time I say let's just go ahead and end the game right there by targeting my own thing and kind of scooping out because he had the thing. Now Paul's play around that could have been to, in response, use a Darkness Gem to kill his own dude or something like that, but ultimately I'm able to win the game. So huge thanks to Paul for sitting down and playing the match. The deck profiles will be up later this week as always, and until next time, this is TMO73 signing off.